Boa tarde.
Good afternoon.
Esse momento desta mesa,
This moment of this
ele é
floor,
momento
this
muito
table,
importante porque
it is an extremely important
somos
moment
parlamentares,
because we're parliamentarians,
legisladoras,
we're legislators.
e aqui no Brasil a
And
gente tem
here in
algumas
Brazil, we have several experiences related
relacionadas aos bancos públicos
to the public
e
banks
agências de desenvolvimento
and
junto
agency
ao
of
governo
development
federal,
together with the federal government.
que nesse momento
That in this
retoma
moment
a
we
sua capacidade
retake the
de
capacity of
investimentos,
investment,
investimentos, seja na área de
whether in the logistics,
sociais.
social programs.
Temos aqui dos maiores
We have one of the
programas de
biggest
transferência de
social
renda
programs
aprovado por
of
essa casa,
fund
pela
transference
Câmara,
approved by
em
this
forma de
house, the
legislação,
chamber, in form of
Bolsa
legislation.
Família.
It's called Bolsa
Temos aqui
Familia.
uma experiência,
We have here
voltada
an
para a área da
experience
saúde,
turned to
como
the area
o
of
SUS,
health,
que é
like
sistema
SUS,
único de
that's a
saúde
unique health
na área
system
pública,
in the public
mas
area.
também nesse momento
But we also
em que
have,
a
in this
gente
moment,
abre
that we
essa segunda
open
oportunidade,
the second
nós
opportunity.
gostaríamos
We'd
que
like
cada
to,
parlamentar
each
dos
parliamentary
seus países
of each country
pudessem estar
could
atentos a essa
be aware
intervenção,
of this intervention,
porque os bancos
because
públicos brasileiros
the Brazilian public
serão
banks
os bancos públicos
are going to
a
be
falar neste momento, que são
the ones who are going to
os
speak
bancos
from
de
this moment.
desenvolvimento
It's the
que têm
banks
a
of development that have a
com
partnership
o próprio
with
BRICS.
BRICS
Então, está
itself.
aqui na mesa
So
conosco
here, we have in the table with
a
us
Shana Nogueira Lima,
Shana Nogueira
gerente
Lima.
de operações
She's
do
operational
Fundo Rio
management
Doce
of
do BNDES,
Rio
que é o
Fundo,
Banco Nacional de
Rio
Desenvolvimento
Doce Fund, that is the
Econômico
National
e
Bank of
Social.
Social and
Seja
Economic
muito
Development.
bem-vinda,
Welcome,
Shana.
Shana.
Prazer estar aqui com você.
It's a huge pleasure to be
Está
here with
aqui
you.
também
We also have here
a Luciana Silva Barbosa
Luciana
de
Silva
Carvalho,
Barbosa de Carvalho.
gerente executiva
She's the executive
da
manager
diretoria de empreendedorismo
of the
de
entrepreneurship
micro e pequenas empresas
of
do Banco do
micro and
Brasil.
small
E
companies,
aqui eu
businesses
faço,
of Banco do Brasil. It's the
uma
Bank of
menção
Brazil.
muito importante,
And I'll have to have
o
mentioned
Banco do Brasil é a primeira vez
that Banco
em
do
mais
Brasil,
de
it's the
200
first time in more than
anos em que o Banco
200
do
years
Brasil é presidido
that the Bank of
por
Brazil
uma
is
mulher.
presided by a
Temos
woman.
aqui também representando
We also have
a Caixa Econômica
representing the
Federal,
Caixa Econômica
a
Federal. It's
senhora
another
Inês
public
da
bank.
Silva
Mrs. Inês da Silva Magalhães,
da Caixa Econômica
Deputy
Federal, também
President of the Caixa Econômica Federal. It's more than a bank with more than 100 years that is responsible for the public policies of transfer of funds in our country, transfers of income. So welcome. And also share with me the floor, Senator Leila, leader of the female caucus in the Federal Senate. It's also here with us, the development agency is seated right over there, following us, Mayra Pinto, Calcioli Rodrigues, she's the management of the Women in International Businesses, where establishes the partnerships, the round of negotiation among countries in order to make the cooperation terms in order to import and export and have the trading in these countries. Also, Juliana Muniz, she's from Petrobras, one of the biggest public companies in our country related to the oil production and its derivatives. And also Raíssa Rossiter, she's consultant in the international area of SEBRAE, is the Brazilian Service of Support of Small Companies, small businesses. For their speech, Federal Isa Arruda, Ms. Juliana Cardoso, member of the Federal Parliament, and also Célia Chacriabá. So, from now on, we start to the speech of Shana Nogueira, representing the National Bank of Economic and Social Development. Thank you, Deputy. I would like to thank you very much for the invitation and also salute the Deputy. And on the behalf of Jaque Rocha, I salute all the women present here. I think that's important for us to use this moment to reaffirm our commitment with the BNDES, the National Bank, supporting the entrepreneurship led by women. It's a subject, a transversal aspect in the BNDES, and all the policies that we act in all the programs that were created by the bank. It is a matter of to gather attention and to be verified. We have some specific programs that may bring some of them here, but there are several, but it's valid to bring some of our programs. So we have the BNDES Periferia, that is a program that has been financing the social environmental fund that uses the resources of the bank itself that are destined to social and environmental projects. In this program, we prioritize the public, that women and young people. We're in the third edition of this program. We have the BNDES microcredit. It is important to say that our bank is widely known for the support for great investment. It's a really relevant bank to the big entrepreneurship, but also the support of BNDES for the small business owner is representative, although it's less known. BNDES has a network of banks that are partners, also that Banco do Brasil and Caixa are also part of this network, that we support the whole Brazil, and not only with microcredit, but with credit for small businesses. In the case of microcredit, for example, it's 60% of our public are women. So the businesses represent 60%, was more than 50,000 companies supported by this initiative in 2024. We have another program, it's BNDES Garage. We support startups, prioritizing startup led by women, was more than 400 startups supported. So I'd like to once again support the invitation and the support to the business. Women's business is a central core and the management of President Mercadante from the bank. Thank you very much, Ana.
I would like to pass the word to Luciana Silva Barbosa de Carvalho, manager of the Micro and Micro Business of Bank of Brazil. Welcome. Thank you. Can everybody hear me? Good afternoon to everyone. It's an honor to be here. Being able to participate in this meeting is so important to our country, to the world. Next to women's representatives of bank, especially of Bank of BRICS, talk about financial inclusion of women and justice of economic, but also sub-intelligence, artificial, and here I bring the perspective of who's acting of Banco do Brasil, with the focus of micro and small business, where the presence of women is still increasing, but still face a lot of, and a lot of people ignored historic to access to women to the system of finance. This needs to be changed, and it starts with how we draw our products in public and evaluation. In this case, the bank has financial, not just financial, but transforming. We need criticize that don't penalize, with double or triple journey that knows the journey of the women, that put impact social. Bank of Brazil, we have acknowledged for the women, giving them credits different for women's capability of education, financial education, directed for women. 44% of the companies of the bank today is directed by women, but still we need to go forward. That's why meetings like this are so important. important.
compartilhar boas práticas e principalmente
Share
selar
practice
compromissos concretos.
and
O
also
novo Banco
deal
de
with
Desenvolvimento
contracts.
tem hoje uma grande oportunidade
The
de se
Bank of
posicionar
Brazil
como
today has a
referência
big
global em
importance
finanças
in the global
inclusivas. Mas isso
inclusion.
exige critérios claros, metas ambiciosas
Like this has
e diálogos
inclusion,
com quem está na
like
ponta, como as
dialogues
mulheres
with
empreendedoras e suas
women's.
redes de apoio. Finalizo reforçando que
I
financiar
finalized
mulheres é
saying
investir
that
em
women
comunidades
should
inteiras.
invest on
É promover a
communities,
autonomia, reduzir
promote
desigualdades e
economy,
impulsionar inovação com propósito.
and
E é
give
com essa visão
propose
que precisamos
with a
atuar,
vision,
unindo setor público, privado e
with the
organismos
section, the public
multilaterais
section, and
para transformar a
multilateral
equidade
to
de gênero em
transform
critério
the
obrigatório, não
general
opcional, em
obligation
toda
and not
política de
optional.
financiamento ao desenvolvimento. Contem com o Banco do Brasil.
Count with Banco do
Obrigada.
Brasil. Thank you so much.
Obrigada, Luciana.
Thank you, Luciana.
Quero pedir agora para fazer
I'd
a sua
like
intervenção
to make her
a
intervention.
Inês
Inês da Silva Magalhães.
vice-presidente de
She's
habitação
Vice
da
President
Caixa
of Habitation of
Econômica
Caixa Econômica
Federal,
Federal.
também marco nesse banco,
Also,
que é mais
a
do que
mark
centenário.
in this bank that is
Temos
more than
aí uma vice-presidente,
centennial,
uma pasta
a vice
tão
president and such an important
trata sobre o processo de
management
construção
that treats
e
about the
habitação em todo o Brasil.
building and
E
habitation projects in
parceira
whole
também
Brazil and
de
also partner
empresas
of
tão
companies that are
localizadas nos nossos
located
países
in our
e transformando a realidade
countries
de
and
milhões de
transforming the
pessoas.
reality of thousands of people.
Muito obrigada pelo convite.
Well, thank you very much for the invitation. It is a huge pleasure to be here, mainly because as National Secretary of Habitation, between 2005 and 2016, I had the pleasure to participate in several work groups and the theme of habitation with India, South Africa, and also demonstrating and also happy to be here today, looking how much these discussions have been advancing. Well, Caixa Econômica is a public bank. It's the fourth biggest bank in the country, and also has, as it's one of the main axes, not only habitation, but also it's implementing agency of public policies of the national government. This peculiar capacity is public bank and implementation agency leads Caixa to be present in almost every municipality in the country. In order to talk in a perspective of gender in a forum like this, it is important that we have clear that although the diminishing the poverty in Brazil, it has gender and color. It's black, women, black and young. These characteristics, they have to be considered in the design on all of public policies. Our municipalities, our residences, more than half led by women. That's why the social network in Brazil having women its main focus. Caixa, our bank, is an agent of implementation of several of these policies. I think that one of the most important is the Bolsa Família. It's a program of transfer of income that has its main focus support women, the permanency of the children in schools, and also regarding health. Another program that is really important that Caixa is implementing is Minha Casa, Minha Vida, My House, My Life. This is the program that we have one of the biggest advances of the women empowering. That is the mandatory that the title of the house, of the property, is be given to the women, regardless of an eventual breakup between of the loss of the familiar bond. I think these characteristics makes us reflect which are the advances for us to face the implementation of equal society, sharing more between men and women,
a economia do cuidado.
the economy of care. It's a huge challenge for us in the global South. Thank you.
Muito obrigada, Inês.
Thank you very much, Inês.
Passo agora
Now I hand the
sua
floor
intervenção para
for
Mayra Pinto Caucholi
Mayra Pinto Caucholi Rodrigues. She's the
do
manager,
Programa Mulheres e Negócios Internacionais,
Women and International Businesses
Ministério da Indústria,
at the
Comércio e
Ministry
Serviços,
of Industry, Commerce and Service of the government of President Lula.
Obrigada, deputada Jaque.
Thank you so much, Deputy Jackie and Senator Leila. Thanks for the invitation to be part of this moment so important. And this comes from the president of APEX, Brasil, Jorge Viana, and our director, because they couldn't be here today. They're at France right now. I had the privilege to be here in this meeting about Parliament Women of BRICS to talk about the importance of the involvement of the finance of including of women with an eye, with a focused eye. APEX, they have a mission, agents of exportation, to promote the service of Brazil outside to Brazil. This mission is to go beyond numbers and balance. It's focused on construction of a future for all the Brazilians, and also to include to put women and group on the economy. This moment that we see, we reflect the urgent of, it's more evident than ever, this international about financial, including women's, makes us reflect about the institution of financial institution. APEX observes closely the Brazilian company, and even more, the women are more important to this scenario. It's also important to see that these women face a lot of challenge. Women, in particular, Black, indigenous, still find barriers to have credits. It's basically because of guarantee or gender, racial or financial products. Still talking about Brazil, we still see diverse, different regionals. Women are now north and south, still find challenge. The incorporation of credits of gender and racial on this financial, it's not just a question of, it's also a strategy, intelligent strategy of economic development. So APEX do a program of women, is ready to be partner with this journey, believing that we could have the economy for the women to have access to finance. We're not just fixing histories, but benefiting. Obrigada.
Muito obrigada, Maíra.
Thank you, Maíra.
Passo agora para
Now I hand the floor
em nome da
in the name of Petrobras.
a Juliana Muniz,
Muniz,
da presidência da Petrobras, leve aqui
partner of Petrobras presidency, please take our deepest regards to Magda Chambrian. Now, good afternoon. Thank you very much, Deputy Jackie. I'd like to salute all the parliamentarians here present, all the authorities, and also like to thank, in the name of President Magda, the Senator Leila, and Deputy Jackie for this opportunity. It is an opportunity for us at Petrobras have to show, to present that we are developing this subject, but mainly it's an opportunity to have a good access to this debate and what we learned today, and also deepen our internal policies and what we've been dealing with our chain of supplies. This for us is it's a dear subject, and so we have diversity aspects in the human rights in our internal policy, and as I mentioned, in our relationship with our suppliers, we have diversity aspect with suppliers. We have goals in our strategic plan in 2025 to 2029. That is within this goal that we dealt the minimum of 25% of women in leading roles. I know that the Petrobras, because of the characteristic of the work that we make, it's the greatest part in a male role, but it's also reflect in the occupation of spaces of leadership, but it's also in our strategic plan and goal for the 2025-2029, that by the end of 2029, we'd like to reach this goal of 25% of women in leading role and minimum 25% of black people working as well in leading roles. We know that promoting the gender equity and our ethic conduct, and also the human rights directives and the Petrobras, we have in our diversity DEE that was signed in 2024, and also we signed a pact for diversity, equity, and inclusion in 2024. We have a specific structure for dealing the matter of diversity, equity, and inclusion, that it's within our human resources. And we also have to highlight, we have a Commission of Human Rights that is made of 40 executive management. It's a forum that we discuss all that regards these thematics within Petrobras, and also divided them with other groups and brought us through all Petrobras. Whenever there's an acting in Petrobras, there's this discussion forum. Just to conclude, thank you. In 2023, we approved the racial equity program that has the predicted action till 2027. We have a mentoring program and that foster this implementation of the participation of the leading roles, black leading roles in our decision spaces, and the intervention of social environment. We have the autonomy and income in order to capacitate workforce for Petrobras, and also destined part of the for black people, women, people, and trans people. And we also have the programs Petrobras Socioambiental that considers women and black people as priority in their actions. And at the end, we'd like to contractual relationships. All of our contracts, service contracts, they had terms of human rights for adopting actions to promote the diversity, equity, and inclusion, preferentially for black people, women, and people with disabilities. In the sense that diversity, equity, and inclusion, considering the equity, gender, and sex, is a value and it's been implemented in our management and been strengthened, leading strengthening the relationship with your suppliers and mainly with the society. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you, Juliana.
Raíssa Rossité, nossa consultora da área internacional.
Our consultant of the international area of SEBRAE. Good afternoon. I would like to talk to Senator Leila, Deputy Jackie, everyone present, Excellencies, and colleagues. Thank you to all the women here and other countries from BRICS. As a consultant of the international from SEBRAE, The service from small and micro business on these institutions have been.
It is a huge satisfaction that I address to you and yourself for reaffirm our commitment to the female protagonism as a transforming strength of the current challenges. We witness how the women empowerment is a fundamental instrument for the overcome of domestic violence of gender. The entrepreneurial women of the BRICS countries has been showing through innovative attitudes for the environmental recovery project in the bioeconomy and sustainable startups, something building a sustainable future and inclusive. Beyond that, it's important to highlight that women, they are being businesswomen not only in the more traditional economy, but also in areas of technology, digital transformation, and also artificial intelligence. It's important to broaden the offer and access to financial resources for it to contribute in a decisive way, generating jobs, inclusion, and sustainable solutions. I'd like to highlight, as also in the BRICS under the Brazil presidency, the startup led by women that received more than 1,000 inscriptions. That is done in partnership with the National Confederation of Industry, led also by Women's Business Alliance, presided by Mônica Monteiro. This confluence between the business sector and the female entrepreneurship shows the capacity to change challenges into opportunities, promoting efficient solutions for climate change and reduce the inequalities of gender, race, and other social economical markers. In this scenario, it is extremely important to broaden the mechanisms of following up. I'd like 1 minute, please. Transparency in the management of resources that foster these initiatives. We'd like the new development bank adopt indicators of gender and race, allowing to measure the precise measure of the impact of the adopted measures and the strategic resources for the business led by women, contributing for a truly sustainable development. Parliamentarians of the BRICS countries to unite in this transformational agenda, strengthening the visibility and the protagonism of women in politics and public policies at national level and international. Together, we can define an innovation, social justice, and sustainability, building a better future for the next generations. SEBRAE, finally, reinforces its commitment to a bigger participation of women in the economy. Parliamentarians and leaders of BRICS count with SEBRAE. Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Raíssa. I'd like to ask Ms. Juliana Cardoso, as a member of the Brazilian Parliament.
Hello, good afternoon. Deputies and parliamentaries of all the Brazil and other countries, especially the senators here in Brazil. I'm very happy to be here. For me, it's very significant. I came from a region very poor, from the city of São Paulo. It's a region of the politics barely went there, and you have to, now today I'm sitting here talking to other countries, that we could talk economic, this crisis, climate, women empowerment throughout the economy. So I want with gratitude refer to each one parliamentary here present. Well, when we talk about relationship about banks, financial, we always see the question of gender. But gender, talking about vulnerable society, the vulnerability with women, there's color, there's races, there's social classes. sends women that fight day by day to have the survivor of life, and they have to work themselves to be able to do things at home, and especially on today that women has been single moms, taking care of your house and the education of your kids. Because of that, when we talk about banks, when we talk about finance, we have to see, especially observing these places where there's no politics, because we already live in Brazil, especially social classes, the more social class, the more access you have to politics that talk about the economy. And the women that more needs this politics, they are left out. They don't know where to go. They don't know what's the format that we could get and have access to this finance. Because the finance, it depends on how it is. It's very broad. And this doesn't fit for these women that needs the most. So when this happens in Brazil, it's not just here in Brazil, it's important on this meeting that we start seeing possibilities that these women have space on a clean economy of inclusion, and especially the climate crisis. Just to finalize, in special in this crisis climate that we have, it's necessary that we put all these people to focus on that. And this will only start when our women start to talk about this politics. Thank you so much, President.
Thank you, Juliana, for your speech. I'll hand the floor to Federal Deputy, President of the Commission of the Rights of Women, Mrs. Célia Chacriabá. First and foremost, I'm extremely happy, even in different languages, when we talk about women, we see some smiles, and the regard is also, we can communicate with these women. First, and we are talking about this gender and climate. Last week we discussed a lot here, and we were talking the project that can devastate the environmental matter is almost like finishing the unique health system. It's the unique life system in the planet. Even that our system of health is a reference in the whole world that cannot be dismantled, but it was made by the men's hands. But we don't have any time to rebuild another planet. But here in Deputy Juliana, when we're talking about financing, I've been to 10 COP International. Today is going to be direct finance for the communities. And when we were in an agenda and the German cooperation with the delegation of indigenous women, we were talking about the direct financing to these associations. And then the World Bank, we're talking about this, talking about the country. If you were technically prepared to assume a management of resources, this amount of resources that are made in a bureaucratic way. So yes, we're ready. We make the management, we do the management of the most expensive resource of the humanity, that are the forests. We were talking about Tassiani, the president of Banco do Brasil, that's been doing different than the small businesses in internationally of the COP in Dubai. We also make part of the greatest World Bank. Oh, you're the representative of one of the banks? Yes, we have the greatest bank of carbon stock. Senator Leila was... This initiative is the only way to the financing to reach these communities. The carbon market shows that protects, compensates, because at this moment people don't know. It's like an SAT. What is the first economic activity in Brazil? The first economic activity in Brazil was in 1511, where export 5,000 trees of pau-brasil to Portugal. And the second economic activity, that was the resin of pau-brasil, it was to paint these clothes. And the third economic activity was in 1530, that was sugarcane. But it doesn't know that the extinction of pau-brasil was one of the biggest of carbon credit. We also have to say about reforestation as an economic agenda, and also facing women violence is that the only subject that we reunite but not gather together, it has to be stopped to be dealt with a polarized subject. It's got to be dealt as a humanitarian subject. In order to finalize, we have been discussed in this house, our commission, we're going to install an under subcommission to deal with the 6 days working, one off day off, and show that the financial autonomy that shows the data that women has the domestic violence. But it's also a bill of laws from Socorro Nero, and we have to think about the economical forest economic and the perfectioning these projects. That's why important Sebrae is here. So we need to womanize, to make women in politics and women. But that Senator Leila, she comes from the sport world. And I talk about the sustainable economy as a sport not only helps to heal, it avoids getting ill, because healing is like reforestation. It takes a lot of time. We have several indigenous women that play well. We avoided the fall of the sky, as we say in the culture. We parliamentarians, if we lead this global agenda, we can avoid the fall of the economy and a predatory economy. And we are here to think about this agenda of sustainable financing, not only as an economy of the global market. It's a subject of a recivilization of humanitarian. Let's think about the recivilization and the sustainable economy. Thank you very much. Thank you, Célia. And I'll invite
our federal deputy from Brazilian Parliament, Ms. Isa Arruda. Good afternoon. I speak as Deputy Federal Nordestina from a region marked as for the resistation and power of this people, and especially women. The climate is not it's already here between us. This is the impact of how we know and severe between the most vulnerable. And this impact, there's face, there's name, and there's gender. The faces of the women known as this expression of this geography, Aziz Abzak, don't talk about but about the woman left out from husbands, women that are left behind with your sons and kids, dealing with the things of home and the surviving of climate. It's with that perspective that I present a project, Law 2525 of 2023, the Institute of Politic of the Dryness of Nordestina, a politic that recognizes the dryness of natural phenomena and not as a tragic, but a politic that proposes the only biome 100% Brazilian protect the Caatinga is to protect the climate, is to give is to fertilize. And there is no way to think convivence with the dryness without thinking of the women of the center of the politics, because they are the ones who are always in the center of the resistation. So we need to break this paradigm to treat the dryness, and it's time to make it stronger. And for that, we need the investment. We need resource.
Precisamos de investimento
We
em
need
ciência.
investment in science.
Precisamos conhecer
We
e
needed to
valorizar
know and value
e promover
and promote
tecnologias
technology,
sociais
social,
que transformam vulnerabilidade
that transform this
em
vulnerability
resiliência.
and resent.
Senhoras e senhores, as viúvas das secas, elas não pedem compaixão.
They
Elas exigem reconhecimento, dignidade e políticas
Dignidade
públicas
and politics
eficazes.
publics efficace.
Elas são as arquitetas
They are the
de um novo
architectures
paradigma,
of a new
onde a justiça
paradigm,
climática se constrói com a
where the justice
participação de
climate
todos nós.
builds itself with
Que este
all of us,
encontro do
and
BRICS
thus this
nos
breaks
para
inspire
criar
us
soluções conjuntas,
to build
que daqui saia
together, and from
compromissos
here
políticos
comes with
e que
compromise
nenhuma
politics,
mulher
and that
será
no
mais
woman
esquecida
will
nas
not be left
estatísticas da
behind
mudança do
on the
clima.
statistic
Que a
climb,
resistência das
and
mulheres
the
da
resistance of these women
ecoe como exemplo global.
be an
Muito
example
obrigada.
of the national global. Thank you so much.
Muito obrigada, Isa.
Thank you very
Quero
much.
agradecer
I'd like to thank
a todos os bancos aqui
all of the banks that were represented here that made part of the floor. I kindly thank the presence of you, the participation of the Brazilian agencies, and I finish this moment, and I begin the speech, the closing speech by Senator Leila Barros. Thank you.
Fazemos aqui essa mesa. Nós vamos aguardar aqui
We're going to wait just a little bit
pessoal da
because
TV
for the
fazer a
people
troca rapidamente.
on the TV to make the swap, okay?